Hi, and thank you for joining me for another lecture. And friends, I've decided to start a Torah commentary based off of the triennial or 3-year Torah reading calendar cycle. And the reason I've decided to take this upon myself is because although nowadays the 1-year cycle is what is currently used in virtually all Orthodox synagogues, the 3-year cycle, because it does split the parashiot or sidrot in smaller segments, it allows us to analyze the actual text in a more thorough manner. Not to mention that the Gemara is clear that the 3-year cycle actually predates the 1 year. Actually, the 3-year cycle was a method, as it states in Talmud Bavli and Megillah, that was used in Eretz Israel, in the land of Israel, while the 1-year cycle was the method that became popular in Bavel, in Babylon. Now, although the Reform and some conservative synagogues have also adopted a 3-year cycle, you must know that this is not a 3-year cycle based off any of the sources that we have documented on how the cycle would have looked, which is what I'm using for my cycle. No, friends, their cycle was one developed quite recently that although it uses a lot of the sidrot that were split in the traditional manner, they take the order and stack them in such a way that instead of the Torah being read chronologically, it's read in a 3-year split. In other words, an example would be that Genesis 1 is read this Shabbat and chapter 2 would be read next year on the same Shabbat instead of just reading it straight through every Shabbat. And also, for those familiar with my lectures, you probably know that I already have a video series for the 1-year cycle, which is why I have been eager to create one for the 3-year cycle. Now, all this may come off as a bit shocking to those hearing me, people who I'm sure for the first time are hearing that the parashiot, as we have them today, the parshas, were in some way not always so, with what they're called and in the order they're in. And friends, you would also be surprised on how many people nowadays cannot make a distinction between what's written law from what's oral law, from what's ultimately custom and not part of either. And friends, the same goes for the Haftarot and their order. It's all unbinding tradition, i.e. not necessarily sanctioned by the Creator, but still a good idea. Actually, according to Halakha, all you have to do is read a portion, any portion from the Torah or the prophets to fulfill your halachic obligation. But no, friends, it never tells you what exactly has to be read. Now, actually, from at least a Torah level, the Torah was to be read every 7 years during Hakel, and later on, Ezra and his court instituted the custom to read it 3 days a week, which is the Halakha. Now, I'm a big supporter of a codified set of parashiot or sidrot and haftarot for the sake of unity, but I won't call it Torah or Torah Sheba'al Peh. Even rabbinic historians teach us that in the Middle Ages, the triennial cycle was still used in many communities around the world. And one thing I'm going to do different with this commentary of mine on the 3-year cycle is to go word by word explaining every Hebrew word as we confront it and expounding as we go along. Unlike the first commentary I did on the Torah, which was just me paraphrasing. Okay? So, starting off.